This is where our motor guard needs to go. And this is one of the castings I did the other day when I was doing the match plate casting. This is just a 3D printed guard or pattern that I made up to go on there. And then for the outside of it, I did another 3D printed pattern that says Quorn. So when they're done, they'll be something like that. So I've gone ahead and cast them. I cast this the other day. I didn't finish these out exceptionally well because they're one-offs. It's easier to do a little more finish work on the castings themselves than it is to try and make the patterns perfect and then only use them for once. So anyway, when I printed these out, I printed them with supports, both pieces, and I saved the supports. So when I ran them up in the sand mold, I had support underneath the guards. Same way with the bigger piece, and it was two pieces because I didn't have enough big enough printer platen to print it out all at once. So I just split them when I drew them up in Fusion, and those were my patterns. So this is what I ended up with for the upper portion, and for what it is and the lettering, it came out pretty good. So we'll do a little more finish on all of these. And this was our side guard. So I've got a little more work to do on here. It won't quite fit on there yet, so I've got to do that. But the way it'll sit on there is just like this, and that way. And we've got to cut out our hole here for our drawbar to go through, so it can go through there and have enough clearance if we adjust where the wheel head sets. I have not done the mounting for this yet because I wasn't sure how I was going to do it and exactly what I was going to do. So I'm probably going to use this hole right here, and I'll use some sort of a wing nut, something. I may just use a solid nylock nut on there for the amount that it'll have to come off of there. Why, that's not that much of an inconvenience. And what I'll probably do is put a standoff that comes out and onto a little T-bar where it mounts on here, and I'll weld those to the guards. I think I'll just weld me a little T-bar across here and a stud to go out there with or run the stud out there one way or the other to where I can lock that in position and yet not put tension on the guard itself. So I think that'll work. That doesn't interfere with anything. That when I do take the guard off, why, it's here and ready to go back on, and it doesn't interfere with the belt itself. So these were originally designed when you look at the guards that were designed in the drawings with this was on here mainly to hold your switch, and you could put your capacitors inside for the motor that it was originally designed for. So I think I'm probably going to leave the caps sit right here. I'm probably not going to move them, but my plan is to move the switch probably to here. And I debated going in this way with it, or here was the original design of it. I think I'm going to go here, and then on the inside, to protect that wiring and the inside of that switch, I'll have to machine out part of the inside of this anyway. What I think I'll probably do is just build a little housing to go around it. I may cast a little housing. I'm not sure exactly yet, but that will go over the back of that switch. So if a belt were to break for some reason, something were to go wrong, why, it wouldn't tear out all the electric in it. So what my plan is once I get this fitted up, and there is some more fitting to do, I've got to open it up here, and I'll have to do this part. Then once I get my switch fitted, why, I think I'm going to go back and probably TIG weld this up, or TIG weld them together. And whether I do it, whether I TIG it all the way around, or whether I just anchor it several places and then just fill it and smooth it out, because this will all be filled and smooth to make a nice smooth finish on it. Why, one way or another, we'll permanently affix that, and then we'll have our motor guard, or our belt guard there. So just about like that. Showed the wheel guard here yesterday, and had a question on it if I'd slid it on down through. Let me pull it off real quick here, and we'll just show you. So, don't know how well this is going to show up, but there's our slit on up right through there, and that's top and bottom. We've done that both places, so you can see the little slit right down in there. So we are pinching. When we pinch down, why, it's closing down more than just right here on the little ears, which would snap off on a casting if you do that very much. So this is the back set of it, or the setup of it right here. And I still haven't sanded this out and painted it. I was going to powder coat these, but I think my powder coat's a little bit different shade than the rest of the Quorn, so I think we'll probably paint it. I still got a little bit of paint left for it that I think matches. So we'll do that, And on this, I may change this bolt around, but we've got it captive. All I did was take the screw that I had, ran a nut, which is a little bit bigger on there, and it fits in there, and I smoothed the edges so it sits down in tight. So that's everything's the right length there. It tightens down when it's on to just about that position there. So it works real well. So anyway, I've been working on the belt guard, the main belt guard. So I've got it fairly well in progress. It's figured out, wiring's done. I've got it to where it will be functional. I've got everything laid out the way it's going. So let's take a look at it and see if we can't get a little insight about Quorn belt guards here. Okay, so here's the end of the Quorn without a guard on it. Now, I've previously shown you pictures of my castings, and I did this as a two-piece casting. And this is how it will ultimately look, is like that. So let me show you the first part, and I'll show you what I've done. I have taken and modified my castings quite a bit. I've welded a plate in here, and it's basically tacked inside. I'd welded it along the outside, but we had to relieve it to fit the outer piece. So it's drilled in the center. I've got some ready rod in there. It's locked in position, and we already had this hole in the end of the motor mount. So we just aligned it off of that, and it screws up there. And for now, I just got a nut and a washer that fits on the inside. I'm coordinated enough to get it all together. And the lock nuts on the ready rod that are in there already are set in a position to where it locks the guard securely in place, and yet it doesn't bow it, nothing crushes it, only goes to a certain position. I'm on the wrong side from where I would normally be comfortable working, so it's kind of a stretch here to get this nut down in. There we go. You can reach in from the inside with a socket and a extension, and that locks that in place. Then for the inside of this, we've got our switch mounted. There's enough clearance here for everything. Our wires for forward and reverse, and I manually have to switch this from forward to reverse. It's by the time you get a switch in there and everything gets situated, you've got so much stuff going on inside that we're right next to the belt, so I didn't really want to do that. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take, that's the position it's going to set in, I'm going to TIG weld it on a few places just basically to hold it. Then when I finish it out, we'll go out, we'll put a fillet in there and everything, probably just with filler. And smooth it up, sand it out, and get some paint on it. But that's the way it's going to look. Now to change directions on this, as I said, it's manual. You just have to switch 2 wires on the motor out of the 4 wires coming out. So for the moment, I just got spade connectors that connect it all. I do is swap those 2 and it'll put it in reverse. And eventually what's going to happen is I'm still searching for the switch I really want to use, but I'd like to find a male and a female, just a 2-wire switch or a 2-prong switch that's non-polarized, so that I can mount the female end of it, hopefully up in the bottom of this, and then I can just mount my male end on here. So all I've got to do is unplug it, turn it around, and plug it back in again for forward and reverse. But like I say, I very rarely run it in reverse, so it's not that big of an issue. And when we do that, then we'll clean up these wires a little bit more. We're going to take and I'll add a grommet to the back, and I will drill and tap this for probably just a wire clamp, and that way I can use that as a strain relief so that we don't have any strain on this. These were originally set up to put your capacitors inside, is why I think the wheel guard was originally designed for the Quorn that way. We've got an external capacitor on this one, and depending on what motor you've got, sometimes you'll have one, sometimes you'll not. But I thought it was better to run my wiring down inside here. It's pretty well protected from the belt guard in the position it's in, and we'll wire tie all this up when we get that far. But it's fairly well protected and out of the way, I think. I considered putting this capacitor inside, but there's not quite enough space inside to get it inside. So this is the way the capacitor came when it was mounted on this motor. We'll just leave it that way. It's not that big a deal. But that will be a pretty good setup, I think. Everything lines up pretty well, and I think we're going to be good to go. Now, I've retensioned the belt just now, so we've moved our drawbar a little bit forward. I think we've still got clearance, and we may build a new belt for that and shorten it up so that we've got a little bit better alignment there. But other than that, why, that's where we're at. So I'll go ahead, we'll throw some TIG welds on here, disassemble it, throw some TIG welds on here. Okay, we've applied a little paint. We're back onto the belt guard. This is the wheel guard that's already been painted. I showed it in the last video. And once again, I'll show you. Here's the little slits in it that I made for it to compress it, Steve. So this is it. Now, Steve, I want you to know when you're watching this video, you know, when you get this notification, and I'm hoping you do get my notifications because, you know, I've gone out of my way an awful lot. I've rescheduled the whole week just to show you that little clip of the slit in this wheel guard. So when you get the notification for this, I hope you've subscribed and I hope you're getting these notifications. But when you drag yourself out of bed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, I want you to pull your pants on. You know, if you're sitting in your Barca lounge, you're watching these videos and you're, you know, and you don't have your pants on, it's just getting a little bit weird. So be sure and have your pants on. You know, I don't care if you're still wearing your bunny slippers. Get your little cup of hot chocolate and you can put the little marshmallows on top if you want before you watch these videos, because I know it's been an inconvenience for you to watch this. So anyway, joking with you. So here's the wheel guard, and it goes on the Quorn. Now I'm going to have to change the paint colors on these because they do not match. And this is just a bomb can that I've put on here, a bomb can gray. The gray that is on the Quorn itself when I originally built it is the same gray that's on my Atlas milling machine when I rebuilt it. And that was actually a custom mix. And that was a polyurethane paint that I used to deal with that an awful lot. So that was a special blend that I mixed up for on those. And I'm not going to screw with that anymore in this day and age. So we're probably, I say I'm not, we may do something with that because I still have that color. I can still match that. We can do that if I deem it necessary on future projects, because I've got some more Atlas stuff and some more Quorn stuff that we'll see what colors we put on them. But anyway, here is the motor belt guard. And this is the way I've got it finished out. Now, there again, this color will change. This will get sanded out again and smoothed up a little bit. It's not a perfect finish on it, but I do now have a functional motor guard. So let's bring it down on the side and I'll show you how it's going to fit on there at least. And I do still have to add the grommet to go in the back and mount the switch and do the wiring and stuff. Anyway, we're going to mount on there just like that. And then of course I showed how it mounts on the inside. But that's the way it will look when we're all said and done. I don't like that color match at all. We'll have to change that. We're going to have to do something sooner, quicker than later. But anyway, this is a upgrade for it. I'm going to go ahead and run my wiring and my grommets through, and then we'll take a look at it. Well, here's our wiring done. We're all set back. Our switch is back. There's no contact. We've got clearance. I'll go back and probably wire tie these together, and I'm going to put some wire loom around it just to give it a little extra protection. But it's a good, safe installation. Here's what it looks like from the front. We've got a grommet in the back, and I ran a ground wire back just onto this. And I have a just a plastic clamp for now that we're going to use as a strain relief. That will slide over all of these, and there again I'll change this clamp out too. But we can use that as a strain relief. And we'll just we put 832 screws in both of these places, both for the ground and the strain relief. And our washer goes on the back side. And then our nut goes on. she's all back together again. Got her wheel guard on position. We'll have to realign everything since we've had the head off and the everything's been readjusted. But it's all back together. Everything fits, runs as she's supposed to, and I think that's quite a little improvement over what we had there. So not necessarily happy with the paint on it. That'll have to change. Everything else, you know, we'll add our switch down on the bottom at some point in time when we find the right one to go on there. There's our wheel guard mounted. That's the way it's going to look. And we'll change the paint so it matches and start doing a few more of the little niceties. But yeah, everything works well. Ball handle adjusts right here. We can rotate to whatever angle we want for that. Locks in place, good and solid. Yeah, I'm real happy. So anyway, hopefully you found that a little bit interesting. If you did and haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button. If you hit the bell notification, you'll know when I put out a new video. And any comments or suggestions, leave them in the comments section for me below. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.